we are discussing physical world and measurement. Now, in the current discussion, let us try to understand various forces that are naturally available in the nature. Most of the everyday forces we observe are between the macroscopic objects, like the contact forces of support and friction, or the forces exerted by springs and strings, viscous forces, electric forces, magnetic forces. So all these forces that we encounter in macroscopic world are manifestation of two basic types of forces, namely gravitational forces and electromagnetic forces. But however, in the microscopic world, there are two more types of forces. What we call them as weak forces related to nuclear forces and strong nuclear forces. So, weak nuclear forces and strong nuclear forces. So, therefore, there are four types of basic forces in nature governing macroscopic as well as microscopic world, namely gravitational forces, weak nuclear forces, electromagnetic forces, and strong nuclear forces. Let us try to understand each of them separately. Let us look at gravitational forces. All particles exert a gravitational force of attraction upon one another. So, the magnitude of the force exerted by a particle, let us say, of mass m1 on another particle of mass, say, m2, at a distance, say, r, from certain point, it is given by the Newton's law of gravitation. That means m1 is the mass of one particle, m2 is the mass of another particle, then r is the distance between them. So, as per Newton's law of gravitation, you can represent the force magnitude as constant g into m1 m2 by r square, where you can get this formula. What Newton said, the force of attraction between two masses is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. So if the two particles are taken as masses having masses m1 and m2, distance of separation r, as per Newton's law of gravitation, it can be represented as F is proportional to m1 m2, that is directly proportional to the product of their masses, and F is proportional to 1 by r square, that is the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So from these two, you can arrive at this formula, where g is the universal gravitational constant. So you can generalize the particles. So here, equal and opposite force exerted by m2. For example, if you take this force, the direction of the force on m2 is towards m1. An equal and opposite force is exerted by the mass m2 on mass m1 in accordance with Newton's third law of motion. So that means the two particles exert force of attraction on one another. So Newton established that the force exerted by the whole earth on a body or on and outside of its surface, it is same, as if all the earth's mass were concentrated at its center. So therefore, the force on a body of mass, let us say small m, near the surface of the earth, capital M, mass of the earth is taken as capital M, object mass is taken as small m. So you can generalize this formula as F equal to g into mm by r square, where capital M is the mass of the earth, capital R is the radius of the earth. So this force is directed towards the center of the earth, which is called vertically downward direction. So this quantity g into mm by r square, here, this is constant and it has the dimensions of acceleration. So this is what is called acceleration due to gravity, denoted by the alphabet small g. Its value is 9.8 meters per second square. Of course, often we use g equal to 10 meters per second square to simplify our calculations. So we shall prove that all the bodies falling towards the earth have this particular value of acceleration, and hence the name acceleration due to gravity. So therefore, the force exerted by the earth on a small body of mass m kept near the earth's surface, then it will have its weight is m into g only, that is weight in the vertically downward direction. This is called weight of the body. The numerical value of gravitational constant is calculated to be 6.67 into 10 power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. We need to understand here that this gravitational constant is so small that the gravitational force exerted by one object of ordinary size on another such object is extremely small. So the gravitational force becomes appreciable only if at least one of the two bodies has got a very large mass in this formula. So in many of the situations that we encounter, we can neglect the gravitational force between the objects compared with other forces acting on them. When we try to understand the salient or important features or properties of gravitational force, we can understand that gravitational forces are universally attractive forces. That means they exist between microscopic as well as macroscopic objects, irrespective of their size, shape, separation, and intervening medium. These forces are never repulsive. That is one property we can remember. And these are the weakest forces in nature. Among all the forces, gravitational forces are weakest forces. And they operate over very long distances, especially when the bodies are massive. For example, rotation of the earth around the sun is due to the gravitational pull of the sun on the earth. Gravitational forces obey inverse square law. Here, if you take, the radius is inversely proportional to the force, 1 by r square. So gravitational forces, they obey inverse square law. That means they vary inversely as square of the distance between the two bodies. Gravitational forces are central forces. Central forces means they act along the line joining the centers of the two bodies. Gravitational forces are conservative forces. So the field particle of the gravitational force here is what is called graviton. This is a concept of exchange of field particle between the two bodies that explains how the two bodies interact from a distance. This is what we need to know about one of the natural forces known as gravitational forces. So let us understand about the weak forces with respect to nuclei. These weak forces are discovered during the study of phenomena of beta decay in radioactivity. In beta decay, electrons are emitted from a radioactive nucleus. It was believed that beta decay occurs when a neutron in the nucleus is converted into a proton and an electron. According to theoretical considerations, all beta particles from a radioactive nucleus should possess the same energy and therefore hence same velocity. But however, experiments showed that the energy of the electrons emitted from a radioactive nucleus varies continuously from 0 to certain maximum value. To account for a variable beta ray energy, Pauli in 1930 postulated the existence of an uncharged particle called antineutrino. This is how it is denoted, antineutrino, which is emitted along with the beta particle. The energy emitted during beta decay is shared by the beta particle and antineutrino. When antineutrino carries maximum energy, the energy of the beta particle is minimum and vice versa. This particle, of course, was later discovered experimentally. So therefore, it was concluded that an electron and an antineutrino interact with each other through weak forces. So thus the weak forces are the forces of interaction between elementary particles of short lifetimes. When you look at the properties of these weak forces, the weak forces are almost 10 power 25 times stronger than the gravitational forces. The weak forces exist between leptons and mesons. These leptons and mesons are a kind of elementary particles. And of course, some more properties are there which are under investigation even today. Let us understand yet another natural force, what is known as electromagnetic force. Forces exerted by one particle on another particle because of the electric charges on the particles, these are called electromagnetic forces. These forces can either be attractive or repulsive. When two particles carry unlike charges, electromagnetic force is attractive. And when they carry like charges, the electromagnetic force is repulsive. When generally charges, when they are in motion, part of the electromagnetic force depends on both the magnitude and direction of the velocity of the two particles, and is not generally along the line joining the particles. So to avoid this complication for the time being, let us confine our discussion to electrostatic force, that is electromagnetic force between charges at rest. So the magnitude of electromagnetic force between 2 point charges separated by certain distance can be obtained by Coulomb's law, which has got similarity with gravitational law. So we take electrostatic force F between the 2 point charges Q1 and Q2 separated by a distance R. So this is F equal to constant into Q1 Q2 by R square. Here this 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, this is called. This epsilon naught is nothing but electrical permittivity of free space. Its value is 8.85 into 10 power minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton per meter square. This 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is 9 into 10 power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. This is also a constant. So this is the magnitude of electromagnetic force between 2 point charges separated by a certain distance in air or vacuum given by Coulomb's law. And of course, the smallest magnitude of charge found in nature is the charge of an electron or a proton, represented generally as 1.603 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs or 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. So the proton has got a positive charge and electron has got a negative charge. All charges are found to have magnitude equivalent to n into e, where n is the integer. Electron charge is therefore said to be quantized. Now all matter is composed of electrons, protons and neutrons. In atoms, the electrons are bound by electromagnetic force acting on them due to protons. Again, atoms combine to form molecules due to electromagnetic forces only. Thus, most of the atomic and molecular phenomena result from the electromagnetic forces. Now we have different examples, practical examples of electromagnetic forces, like forces between two surfaces in contact. For example, when we put two bodies in contact, the atoms of the two surfaces come close to each other. The charged constituents of the atoms of the two bodies exert strong forces between them. Generally, the forces between the two bodies in contact are along the common normal, that is the perpendicular to the surface of the contact. Also, these forces are in the form of push or repulsion. For example, when a book is placed on a table, the book pushes the table downwards, away from it, and the table pushes the book upwards, that is again away from it. That is one example for electromagnetic forces. Then yet another example for electromagnetic forces, you can take it as force of friction. That is, when two bodies in contact may have a component of force parallel to the surface of the contact. This component is called friction. Obviously, the surfaces in contact will be frictionless when they exert forces only along the direction perpendicular to them. Bodies with smooth surfaces in contact can exert only small amount of forces parallel to the surface of contact. For example, we can cling on to the trunk of a tree which is quite rough. The trunk exerts an upward frictional force parallel to the surface of the tree on us to hold us there. This is the reaction of an equal frictional downward force we exert on the tree due to our weight. But on the contrary, it is difficult to say on a smooth metallic lamp post, as it cannot exert enough force parallel to the surface of the lamp post. So yet another practical example of electromagnetic force we can take it is something like tension in a string or a rope. When a heavy block hangs from a ceiling by a string, the string is in a state of tension. The electrons and protons of the string near the lower end exert forces on electrons and protons of the block. So the resultant of these forces is the force exerted by the string on the block that supports the block. So in fact, a string or a rope under tension exerts electromagnetic forces on the bodies attached at the two ends to pull them. Yet another example of electromagnetic forces is forces due to a spring. So when extension or compression is not too large, the force exerted by the string F is proportional to the change in its length L. So you can equate this as some constant into L, where K is called the spring constant. So if the spring is extended, the force will be directed towards center, and if it is compressed, the force will be directed away from the center. This force comes into picture due to electromagnetic forces between the atoms of the material of the spring. Here we have to understand that two bodies not in contact with each other do not exert appreciable electromagnetic forces, though both the bodies contain a very large number of electrons and protons. This is because the charged particles of one body and those of the other body have both attractive and repulsive nature. So therefore, these forces are largely cancelled out. So let us understand some of the important or salient features of electromagnetic forces. Electromagnetic forces may be attractive or repulsive. Like charges repel each other and unlike charges, like charges repel and unlike charges attract each other. So electromagnetic forces are governed by Coulomb's law, which are similar to Newton's law of gravitation. Electromagnetic forces are also obey inverse square law, because you have square or inversely proportional to square of the distance between them in the formula. Therefore, they obey inverse square law. Now, when we say electromagnetic forces, we are talking about electrostatic only. So, these forces are almost 10 power 36 times stronger than gravitational forces and 10 power 11 times stronger than weak forces. So these forces operate over distances which are not very large. These forces are central forces. And of course, these forces are also conservative forces. So in this, the field particle of electromagnetic forces is what is known as photon, which carries no charge and has zero rest mass. This is one of the types of forces in nature, third type of forces in nature. Let us look at the fourth type of forces, the strong nuclear force. The force that binds the neutrons and protons together in a nucleus is what is called the strong nuclear force. It acts between two protons or two neutrons or a proton and a neutron. But only if the particles are very close to each other. Let us say when two nuclei are within one Fermi, let us say 10 power minus 15 meters of each other, the strong nuclear attractive force is about 10 times stronger than the repulsive electric force between two protons at this separation. That is why a nucleus is a stable structure in spite of strong electrostatic force of repulsion between protons. But however, nuclear forces have a very short range. That is, their strength decreases very rapidly with increasing separation and much more rapidly than the inverse square decrease. At a separation of about 15 Fermi, nuclear forces become negligibly small compared to electrical force. And therefore, being short-ranged, nuclear forces come into picture only if we consider charges within the nucleus. As bare nuclei are hardly encountered in daily life, we are generally not aware of nuclear forces. But however, the phenomena like radioactivity, nuclear fission, nuclear fusion, etc., they involve nuclear forces. Let us look at the properties or salient features of nuclear forces. Nuclear forces are the strongest forces in nature. They are almost 10 power 38 times stronger than gravitational forces, 10 power 2 times stronger than electrostatic forces, 10 power 13 times stronger than weak forces. Nuclear forces have shortest range. They operate within the nucleus only, that is up to a distance of the order of 10 power minus 14 meter. Nuclear forces do not depend on charge on the nucleon. Nuclear forces do not obey inverse square law. They vary inversely as some higher power of distance between the nucleus, between the nucleons. Nuclear forces are basically attractive forces. Only when the distance between the nucleons is less than 0.5 Fermi, nuclear forces become repulsive. Nuclear forces are non-central forces. Nuclear forces are also non-conservative forces. So the field particle for nuclear forces is what is pi meson. So based on the discussion that took place till now, if you find the relative strengths of four types of basic forces in nature, you can represent like this. The ratio between gravitational, weak forces, electromagnetic forces and nuclear forces. Fg is to Fw is to Fe is to Fn can be 1 is to 10 power 25 is to 10 power 36 is to 10 power 38. This is how you can represent the relative strength of all the four types of basic forces in nature. So before proceeding further, let us quickly note that the classical physics is a good description of nature when we confine ourselves to the particles of linear size greater than 10 power minus 6 meters, moving with velocities less than 10 power 8 meters per second. So the size restriction automatically excludes any appreciable effects of nuclear forces or weak forces. So thus in classical physics, we need to consider only the gravitational forces and electromagnetic forces. So the formulation of classical physics is quite accurate for heavenly bodies like Earth, the Moon, the Sun, etc. Moreover, it is equally good for the behavior of raindrops, grains of sand, that is from a bigger particle size to a smaller particle size. The difficulty arises only when we deal with subatomic particles. So the behavior of such subatomic particles is governed by quantum physics or quantum concepts. Now, when any quantity in physics does not change, we say it is constant or it is conserved. If we have a certain amount of a conserved quantity at some instant of time, we shall have that same amount of quantity at a later time. This does not mean that the quantity cannot change its form during that time. But if you consider all the forms that the quantity can take, we will find that we always have the same amount. For example, imagine that a light bulb is dropped on the floor and it shatters into many pieces. No matter how the bulb shatters, the total mass of all the pieces together is the same as the mass of the intact light bulb. That means it shows that mass is conserved. So in classical physics, we often deal with conservation laws such as law of conservation of linear momentum, law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of angular momentum, law of conservation of charge. So let us have a brief understanding of each of them. Now, if you look at law of conservation of linear momentum, statement looks very simple. It says that in the absence of an external force, the linear momentum of a system remains constant or remains unchanged. The law means that in order to change the momentum of a system, we have to exert an impulse or force on the system. Moreover, the force or the impulse must be exerted on the system by something outside the system. The internal forces will not work. This is because the internal forces come in balanced pace that cancel within the object. To change the momentum, an outside push or pull is required. For example, when a gun is fired, force on the bullet inside the gun barrel is equal and opposite to the force on the gun. These forces are internal to the system comprising the gun and the bullet. Before the firing, the system is at rest and the momentum is zero. After firing, the total momentum is still zero. But on firing, the bullet gains momentum in the forward direction and the gun gains an equal momentum in the opposite direction, so that the gun bullet system gains none. That is why the gun recoils on firing. Similarly, when an atomic nuclei undergoes radioactive decay or a star explodes, the forces involved are internal. Therefore, net momentum of the system before and after the event is same. This is how we can understand law of conservation of momentum. Let us understand law of conservation of energy. It is one of the greatest generalizations in physics. According to this, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can be transformed from one form to another, but the total amount of energy never changes. When we consider any system in its entirety, whether it is a simple or as a swinging pendulum or as a complex as an exploding galaxy, there is only one quantity that does not change, and that is energy. Energy may change its form, or it may be transferred from one place to other place, but the sum total of the energy stays same. For example, the sun shines because of some of its nuclear energy is transformed into radiant energy. In nuclear reactors, nuclear energy is transformed into heat and so on. We are familiar with potential energy of a body, which is due to its position and configuration. This energy possessed of a body by virtue of its motion or velocity is what we call as kinetic energy of the body. So the sum of kinetic energy and the potential energy is called the total mechanical energy. So in the absence of friction, the total mechanical energy of a system remains constant. So the necessary condition for energy conservation is that the internal forces must be conservative and the external forces should do no work. If non-conservative internal forces operate within the system, external forces do work on the system, mechanical energy changes. Similarly, when you look at law of conservation of angular momentum, we know that a rotating object has inertia. Therefore, such an object also possesses momentum associated with its rotation. This moment is what is called angular momentum, which is the product of moment of inertia and angular speed. So, if the total external torque acting on a system is zero, angular momentum of the system remains constant. This is known as law of conservation of angular momentum. Because angular momentum is a vector quantity, both magnitude as well as direction of the angular momentum shall stay constant in the absence of an external torque. For example, planets, when they revolve around the sun in elliptical orbits, they maintain their orbital plane and angular momentum in this plane due to angular momentum conservation. Similarly, the shapes of galaxies, such as our Milky Way, they have much to do with the conservation of angular momentum. For example, consider a globular mass of gas in a space that begins to contract under the influence of its own gravity. And as the gas contracts, its rotational inertia decreases. Because angular momentum is conserved, angular speed of the galaxy increases, turning into a spiral galaxy. Similarly, if you take law of conservation of charge, matter is made up of atoms and atoms are made up of electrons and protons and neutrons as well. An object that has equal number of electrons and protons has no net electric charge. But if there is an imbalance in the numbers, the object is then electrically charged. An imbalance comes out by adding or removing electrons. If an object has more electrons than protons, the object is naturally negatively charged. If it has fewer electrons than protons, then it is positively charged. So in every event, whether large scale or at the atomic or nuclear level, the principle of conservation of charge applies. It means that charges which are in the form of electrons are neither created nor destroyed, but are simply transferred from one material to other. Therefore, two bodies of an isolated system can have charges which will always be equal and opposite. So if you summarize, in this session we basically looked at various forces in nature as gravity.